You gather here, drawn not by accident, but by the strange current of the psyche that leads us into encounters with what we most fear and what we most long for. And as I look into your faces, I know you have come because something within you suspects that the world you see is not the whole world. You have felt it, haven't you? That your presence, your very light, unsettles those around you. That without intending it, you expose something in them they would rather keep hidden. They recoil not because of who you are, but because of what you reveal. They sense, perhaps dimly, that you shine with a clarity that illuminates their own shadows. And so, secretly, they fear you. Why should this be so? Why should the radiance of another provoke dread instead of celebration? The answer lies in the dynamics of the unconscious, in that subterranean realm that governs so much of human life. Every human being carries within them what I have called the shadow, that dark repository of impulses, desire, wounds, and repressed truth. Most people spend their lives constructing elaborate defenses against this inner darkness. They build a persona, a mask polished for the world, and they cling to it as though it were the totality of their being. But the shadow does not vanish simply because it is ignored. It waits, it festers, it seeps through cracks in the personality. And when such a person encounters you, someone whose inner light, whose authenticity unconsciously radiates truth, they feel exposed. They are confronted not by you, but by the disowned parts of themselves. You become, in effect, the mirror in which their own shadow is reflected. And this terrifies them. I have often said that what we reject in ourselves, we project upon others. Projection is the oldest trick of the psyche, a survival mechanism of the ego to avoid its own dissolution. If I fear my aggression, I see others as threatening. If I repress my desire, I label another as dangerous or immoral. If I bury my woundedness, I will despise those who display weakness. In this way, our judgments of others reveal more about ourselves than about the one we condemn. Now imagine what happens when someone lives, however imperfectly, from their inner light, when they dare to embody authenticity, when they no longer hide from their depths. Such a person cannot help but destabilize the projections of others. Your light burns away the disguise of their denial, and so they fear you. This fear often masquerades as hostility, jealousy, or indifference. They may mock you, dismiss you, or attempt to reduce you to something manageable. They may even accuse you of arrogance, of pretending to be better than they are. But beneath their resistance lies the trembling of their own soul, for they know that in your presence they cannot maintain the illusion. You do not need to speak a word for this to occur. Your being itself is the revelation. Do you understand the weight of this? It means that your life has already become a kind of living symbol, a vessel of archetypal energy that activates the unconscious of those you encounter. Think of the archetype of light and darkness found in every culture and mythology In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra journeys each night through the underworld, battling the serpent of chaos, only to rise again at dawn. In the Christian myth, light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. In alchemy, the hidden gold is purified through fire until it gleams. Light has always symbolized consciousness, spirit, and truth. Darkness, the unconscious, shows and shadow. When your life shines with light, when you allow consciousness to expand, when you embody truth, you enact this eternal myth. Others sense it, even if they cannot name it, and the darkness within them trembles, for it knows it has been seen. Yet, I must caution you, do not mistake this fear as evidence of your superiority. To do so would be to fall into the very trap of the ego you seek to transcend. Remember, the light that radiates through you is not yours alone. It flows from the self, that central archetype of wholeness and divinity within every human being. You are not its origin, but its bearer, its instrument. And because this same self exists in all, even those who resist you are at some level kin to you. Their hostility is but the protest of a soul unready to awaken. Your task is not to defeat them, but to hold your light steadily, to endure the misunderstanding, to refuse to dim yourself for the sake of their comfort. Let me give you an image. Imagine walking into a darkened room where people have long dwelled. Their eyes have grown accustomed to the shadows. They navigate by memory, not by sight. Now you bring a lantern. Suddenly, what was hidden is revealed. The cobwebs in the corner, the decay on the walls, the clutter piled high. Those who had lived there may cry out in anger. They will say, "Turn off the light. You are blinding us." But are you blinding them? Or are you simply awakening their eyes to what has always been? Their outrage is not truly against you, it is against the disruption of their illusion. And yet, even in their anger, a seed has been planted, for once the eye has glimpsed truth, it cannot entirely forget. In dreams, this drama unfolds often. Consider the dream of a man who sees himself pursued by a shadowy figure. He runs, terrified, but the figure follows. Finally, exhausted, he turns and sees that the pursuer is his own reflection. Distorted, darkened, yet undeniably his. Or the dream of a woman who enters a cavern where a small flame burns, and as she approaches it, grows brighter, illuminating treasures and monsters alike. These dreams reveal the psychic law. The shadow must be faced. The light must be carried, or the soul will stagnate. And when in waking life you carry your flame, you become such a dream figure in the lives of others. You force them, however unwillingly, to confront their own darkness. And this, my friends, is why they secretly fear you. But take heart, for fear is not the end of the story. Fear is the first stage of transformation. Behind the fear lies the possibility of awakening. Many who resist you now may one day recall your presence as the beginning of their own journey, just as in alchemy, the encounter with chaos is the prelude to the discovery of gold. So too, the shock of being exposed to light can eventually lead to healing. You may never see this in your lifetime, but the soul remembers you are not responsible for their awakening. You are responsible only for remaining true to your own. I know the loneliness this can bring. To be a bearer of light is often to walk a solitary path. You may feel misunderstood, rejected, even betrayed. Those closest to you may distance themselves, unable to bear the mirror you hold. This too is part of the archetypal journey, the exile, the wanderer, the prophet cast out from his homeland. But know that in this solitude you are never truly alone. The self accompanies you, the ancestors walk beside you, the archetypes themselves lend you their strength, and others who carry their own lanterns will find you, drawn by the same magnetic field of the soul. Together you form a constellation, scattered yet united, a secret fellowship of light bearers across time and space. So let us not shrink back from this calling. Let us understand its cost and its dignity. If they secretly fear you, it is because your presence touches the deepest chord of their humanity. You remind them of what they have forgotten, that within them too burns a flame, and perhaps one day, when their eyes adjust, they will no longer recoil but draw near, grateful that you never extinguished your light. For the darkness fears the light, yes, but in the end, it is also redeemed by it. You must understand that those who fear your light are not your enemies in the truest sense. They are fragments of your own collective psyche, outer figures who embody the inner drama. For we are not isolated beings, but part of a vast network, a shared unconscious that binds humanity together. What unsettles them in you is, in a mystical way, also what unsettles you within yourself. When they shrink back from your radiance, you feel the ache of separation. But if you look more deeply, you will recognize that their trembling is also your trembling. They personify the unintegrated dimensions of your own soul. And so, your task is not only to carry the light outwardly, but to descend into your own darkness inwardly, to embrace what is feared, so that you do not become merely a beacon, but a whole human being. This is the paradox. The brighter the light, the deeper the shadow it casts. When you awaken to a higher consciousness, when you begin to live from authenticity, the shadow does not vanish. It intensifies. The unconscious pushes back with equal force. Others sense this too, for they are drawn to you and repelled by you simultaneously. They feel in your presence both the promise of wholeness and the terror of dissolution. It is as if they stand on the threshold of a temple whose gates blaze with fire. Part of them longs to enter, but another part recoils. The same is true within you. Every time you expand into light, a new layer of shadow rises to be integrated. Thus, the journey is never one of triumph alone, but of perpetual balance, of walking the fine line between illumination and descent. Consider the archetype of the hero who ventures into the underworld. Think of Orpheus descending to retrieve his beloved, of Inanna, stripped of her garments as she passes through the 7 gates, of Christ harrowing hell before resurrection. The pattern is always the same. The bearer of light must confront the darkness, not avoid it, and when you carry your light into the world, you enact this archetype. Your presence forces others to glimpse their own underworld, and this frightens them. But remember, you too must journey downward. Without this descent, your light becomes sterile, detached from the roots of humanity. Only by embracing your own shadow do you become truly whole, and only then can your light be of service rather than a weapon. I have spoken often of individuation, that lifelong process by which a human being becomes what they truly are. It is not a linear ascent, but a spiral winding through both light and darkness, through both consciousness and unconsciousness. Individuation de mon courage. For it means facing what one most wishes to avoid. It means admitting that the enemy without is often the projection of the enemy within. It means allowing the self, the archetype of divine wholeness, to shape your life more than the fragile ego. And those who fear you, those who recoil from your authenticity, are unwitting initiators of your individuation. By their fear, they remind you of the cost of carrying light. They force you to choose again and again. Will you dim yourself for the comfort of others? Or will you remain faithful to the self that shines through you? There is a peculiar loneliness in this calling, and it cannot be denied. When people fear you, they distance themselves, or they wear masks in your presence, or they secretly wish for your fall. This loneliness is archetypal. It is the loneliness of the prophet who sees visions others cannot yet see, the mystic whose experience of the divine alienates them from ordinary chatter, the alchemist who labors in hidden chambers while the town mocks his strange experiments. Do not despise this loneliness. It is the crucible in which the soul is strengthened. In solitude, you commune with the deeper currents of life, with symbols and dreams that whisper truths unavailable in the marketplace of distraction. In solitude, your light is clarified, stripped of the need for applause, and paradoxically, it is this very solitude that prepares you for authentic communion. For you cannot truly meet another until you have met yourself. I recall a dream recounted to me. A woman wandered through a forest at night, carrying a small lamp. Around her moved shadowy figures, watching, whispering. Some reached out, but when she lifted her lamp, they shrank back. She grew afraid, but the lamp never extinguished. At last, she came upon a clearing where other wanderers, each with their own flame, gathered. Together, their lights illumined the forest, and the shadows retreated. This dream reveals a truth I wish to impress upon you. Though many will fear your light, there are also others who will recognize it. You are not alone in this journey. Scattered across the world are those who, like you, bear the inner flame. Your task is not to convince everyone, but to walk steadily until you find your kin, and yet beware of the temptation to weaponize your light. The ego is cunning. It delights in turning spiritual gifts into tools of superiority. If you begin to believe that you are the source of the light, you will unconsciously seek to dominate others with it. You will expose their darkness not as a mirror, but as an accusation. This is the shadow of the enlightened, the savior complex. The messianic inflation, the subtle pride that says, I see while you remain blind. This path leads not to wholeness, but to distortion. True light humbles. It reveals not only the darkness of others, but also the darkness within oneself. To carry light is to carry compassion. To recognize that the fear you awaken in others is the same fear that once lived in you and perhaps still does. In this way, you remain human, rooted, tender, think, too, of the figure of Lucifer, the light bearer who fell through pride. The myth warns us, light divorced from humility becomes destructive. If you are to embody your light authentically, you must remain anchored in the reality of your own humanity. Remember always, the self is a source, and you are its vessel. If you hold this posture, your light will heal rather than harm, reveal rather than condemn. You will become not a blinding glare, but a steady flame that guides others when they are ready. It is also important to speak of suffering, for light is forged in suffering. Those who fear you now may not know the price you paid to carry this flame. Perhaps you walked through years of confusion, depression, alienation. Perhaps you wrestled with your own demons, confronted the terror of meaninglessness, endured the collapse of everything you thought you were. Out of such nights of the soul, light is born, and this light carries authority, not because it is triumphant, but because it is authentic. It bears the scars of the struggle. Those who fear you sense this authority. Though they may not name it, they feel in your presence the weight of one who has descended and returned, and their fear at its root is the fear that they too must walk this path, for there is no other way. No one ascends without descending first. No one embraces light without first meeting their shadow. Let us pause here and feel the rhythm of this truth. Life is not a war between light and darkness, where one must eradicate the other. It is a dance of polarity, a tension that gives rise to transformation. The alchemists knew this. Solve et coagula, dissolve and reunite. Light reveals, darkness conceals, but both belong to the totality of the self. To embody your light is not to eliminate darkness, but to integrate it, to hold both in creative tension. Those who fear you are not resisting you personally. They are resisting this integration. They want the comfort of half a life, the safety of repression. the illusion of innocence, you disturb this equilibrium, you invite them by your very being into the full complexity of existence. And this is frightening, yet remember, what they fear may one day draw them. Light unsettles, but it also attracts. There is something irresistible about authenticity. Even those who mock you may secretly admire you. Even those who distance themselves may remember you in their dreams. You plant seeds without knowing it, seeds that germinate in the hidden soil of their unconscious. Years from now, they may awaken, and the memory of your presence will surface as a turning point. Do not underestimate the subtle influence of living authentically. You are a symbol, and symbols move in ways the ego cannot control. They stir the deep waters, awoken forgotten myths, open doors to the self. Your task is to live as a symbol, faithfully to carry your light without agenda, trusting that the psyche will do its mysterious work. You may wonder why your light, which you did not earn by conquest but by surrender, should provoke such turbulence in others. The answer lies in the archetypal memory of humanity itself. Across centuries, those who bore vision, who carried symbols of renewal, were feared, exiled, even destroyed. Socrates was condemned for corrupting youth with inconvenient truths. Christ was crucified for revealing a kingdom not of this world. Mystics were silenced, witches were burned, prophets were mocked. The pattern repeats because the psyche resists upheaval. It clings to familiar illusions even when they suffocate the soul. Thus, when you walk among others with authenticity, you stir ancient fears lodged deep within the collective unconscious. You awaken myths long dormant, and they fear you because they recognize in you not just an individual, but an archetype, the light bearer who heralds change. But archetypes are double-edged. The same figure that brings illumination also brings disruption. Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods, suffered eternal torment for his gift. The fire he delivered awakened mankind, but it also threatened the order of Olympus. This is your role, too, to carry fire into a world that resists its heat. Do not be surprised that others project onto you their ambivalence, their gratitude mixed with resentment. They may secretly envy your courage. While outwardly condemning you, they may need you to carry what they cannot yet carry, even as they despise you for it. This is the paradox of the light bearer, to be both a savior and a scapegoat. Yet within this paradox lies profound meaning, for individuation is not only for yourself. By daring to live your own wholeness, you become a catalyst for others. Even their fear is part of the process. For fear shakes the foundations of complacency. When their defenses crumble, when the mask of persona cracks, they are forced, if only for a moment, to feel the stirrings of their own soul. This is no small gift. Do not underestimate the silent revolutions you ignite merely by existing as you are. You are not here to convert, to persuade, to argue. You are here to embody, to live, to radiate. And embodiment, my friends, is the most subversive act of all. You ask, how shall you endure their fear, their suspicion, their hostility? You endure by remembering that their reaction is not about you. It is about what you awaken in them. Do not take it personally. Though it feels personal, do not let bitterness corrode your heart. For bitterness is the shadow's trap, the inversion of light into darkness. Instead, hold compassion even as you hold boundaries. Compassion because you know their fear. Two dwells in you, boundaries, because you must not allow their projections to consume your soul. This balance is the essence of psychological maturity. To love without being devoured, to shine without burning yourself out. And yes, you will feel weary at times. You will wish to hide your flame, to blend into the crowd, to retreat into anonymity. But hear me, the flame you carry was not given for concealment. To extinguish it is to betray your own soul. You will suffer more by hiding than by being rejected. For the self, the deep archetypal center of your being, will not permit betrayal. It will haunt your dreams. It will sabotage your compromises. It will gnaw at you until you return to your path. You may try to appease the world by dimming your light, but you will only deepen your own shadow. Far better to endure their fear than to live in self-betrayal. Remember also that fear is often the threshold of reverence. Many who fear you now may later revere you. In the history of every prophet, every mystic, every revolutionary, the story is the same. First they resist, then they remember, and though they may not honor you while you live, the imprint of your authenticity will endure. Your light will seed their dreams. Your truth will echo in their unconscious, and perhaps in another generation it will bear fruit. You are not living for applause. You are living as a symbol of what is possible, and symbols outlive flesh. Symbols speak where words cannot. They bypass the defenses of the rational mind and move directly into the soul. When you live authentically, you become such a symbol. You may not even know what you symbolize. To some, you are hope. To others, danger. To still others, liberation. But in all cases, you are an archetypal trigger. You awaken dormant images in the collective unconscious, and though this may cause others to fear you, it is precisely what the world needs. For the psyche does not grow by comfort, it grows by confrontation. It grows when the familiar is disturbed, when the hidden is revealed. Your light is both revelation and disruption, and both are necessary. Dreams often show this dynamic. A man dreams of a radiant figure entering his house. At first, he is filled with awe, but soon dread seizes him, for the light reveals the filth he had hidden. He drives the figure out, yet the dream repeats, night after night. Finally, weary, he allows the figure to remain, and in the following days, he begins cleaning his house, discarding what no longer serves him. Do you see? The light was not his enemy, it was his salvation. But the fear was necessary, for without it, he would never have been stirred to act. This is what your presence does in the lives of others. You enter their psychic house, they may resist you, but the seed has been planted. One day, perhaps, they will begin their own cleansing. Do not underestimate the alchemical power of this. Alchemy was never about turning base metals into gold, but about transforming the soul. The alchemist spoke of the nigredo, the blackening, the stage of decay and dissolution. Without it, no gold could emerge. When people fear your light, they are entering their own nigredo. They feel exposed, dissolved, undone. It is a painful stage, but also the beginning of renewal. You may never see the gold that results, but trust that the process is at work. The psyche knows what it is doing. The self uses even fear as raw material for transformation. So I say again, do not resent their fear. Honor it as part of the mystery. Recognize that you, too, once feared the light. Recognize that you still do. For every new level of illumination demands the death of an old self, and death is always feared, but it is through these small deaths that we are reborn, step by step, into wholeness. Your task is not to eliminate fear, but to accompany it, to endure it, to let it refine you. For the light you carry is not a destination, but a journey, and the journey never ends. Each day, a new shadow emerges. Each day, a new illumination dawns. This is the rhythm of individuation, the eternal dance of psyche. And so, if they secretly fear you, bless them. Their fear is the sign that you are living authentically. Their fear is the evidence that your light is real. Do not grow arrogant, but do not grow timid either. Walk steadily, humbly, radiantly. Be the flame that neither boasts nor apologizes, but simply burns, for in the end, it is not you they fear. It is the truth within themselves, and perhaps one day they will discover that this truth is not their destruction, but their salvation. The path of light is always paradoxical. It calls you into visibility, yet demands humility. It exposes others, yet reminds you constantly of your own unfinished work. It brings reverence, but also fear, and so you stand in the middle between heaven and earth, between the archetypal and the human, between light and shadow. This middle place is holy, though it may not feel so. It is the crucible of individuation, where you learn to endure tension without collapsing into certainty. The psyche grows not by eliminating opposites, but by holding them until a third way emerges. a transcendent function, born of the union of contradictions. You, as bearer of light, embody this tension for others, and that is why they fear you. You remind them of the paradox they themselves avoid, but you must also learn to love your own darkness. Too many seekers of light flee into transcendence, into spiritual inflation, denying the earthy, bodily, instinctual roots of life. They become ethereal, untouchable, detached. This is not individuation, it is escape. Real light is forged only when it penetrates the depths. You must descend into your instincts, your wounds, your fears, and there discover that the same flame which shines in heaven also burns in hell. Only then does your light carry authenticity. Only then can it illuminate without destroying. For those who fear you are watching closely. If your light is genuine, they may one day trust it. But if it is a mask, they will sense the falseness and recoil even more. Authenticity alone pierce fear. There is another reason they fear you. The world thrives on collective agreements, on unconscious contracts of silence. Families maintain peace by denying wounds. Societies maintain order by suppressing truth. Communities preserve harmony by scapegoating difference. When you carry your light, you disrupt these contracts. You speak the unspoken, embody the forbidden, reveal the denied. In this way, you threaten not only individuals, but systems. The tribe has always feared the outsider, the one who sees differently, because the outsider endangers the fragile illusion of unanimity. This is why prophets are killed, why mystics are banished, why visionaries are mocked. Your very existence whispers, there is another way, and the herd cannot bear it. They fear the possibility that everything they have built rests on denial, and so they fear you. Yet understand this, the fear they feel is also an invitation, for fear is the threshold of awe. What they recoil from today may be what they revere tomorrow. In myth, the gods often appear first as terrifying, only later as beneficent. The sacred is both numinous and dangerous. So, too, your light, it unsettles because it is sacred. It destabilizes because it is authentic. Do not resent the trembling you awaken in others. It is the mark of the divine working through you. It is the self breaking into their small world, whispering of something greater. They may hate you, but beneath the hate stirs awe. And awe is the beginning of transformation. You may ask, how shall I endure this journey without despair? I answer by remembering that the same self which called you also sustains you. You are not asked to generate the light from your ego, but only to carry what the self reveals. Trust the deeper currents. Trust the dreams that guide you, the synchronicities that confirm your path, the archetypes that rise to meet you in symbol and story. When you feel abandoned, remember that you are living within a myth, and myths are never without meaning. The hero may wander, but the pattern holds. The light may flicker, but it is never extinguished. The self is faithful, and if you remain open, it will guide you even through the darkest nights. There will be nights, indeed, when you feel crushed by the weight of rejection. There will be mornings when you wonder if it would be easier to return to ignorance. But do not despise these moments. They, too, belong to individuation. Even Christ cried out, "Why have you forsaken me?" Even the alchemists recorded long phases of despair before the gold appeared. These nights are not failures, but initiations. They strip you of illusion, humble you, deepen you. Without them, your light would remain superficial, untested. With them, your light gains depth, tenderness, gravity. Others sense this. They fear you not only because of your brilliance, but also because of your depth. They know unconsciously that you have traveled where they dare not go. And though they shrink back, they also long to follow one day. Perhaps they will one day. The very ones who feared you may seek you. They will remember your presence, your steadiness, your refusal to dim yourself, and it will give them courage. They will realize that what they feared was not you, but themselves, and they will thank you silently, perhaps never aloud, for showing them the way. But even if they never do, even if you remain misunderstood until your death, know that you have lived truthfully, and there is no greater offering than that. So I say again, do not hide your light, do not boast of it, but do not conceal it either. Let it shine naturally, humbly, steadily. Let it be what it is, a reflection of the self within you, the eternal archetype of wholeness that longs to incarnate in human life. And when others fear you, hold compassion. When they resist you, hold patience. When they wound you, hold forgiveness. Not because you are naive, but because you know the truth. They are wrestling with themselves, not with you. You are the mirror, and mirrors are always feared until the soul is ready. In dreams, the mirror often appears as a symbol of terror or revelation. The dreamer gazes into it and sees not their familiar face, but a stranger. Grotesque or luminous, this is the moment of confrontation with the self. To see oneself truly is both horrifying and liberating. And when you walk through the world, you are such a mirror for others. They glance at you and glimpse, however briefly, the stranger within themselves. Some turn away in horror, some linger in fascination, a few dare to look longer. And those are the ones who begin to awaken. You cannot control who they are. You cannot decide for them. You can only remain faithful to your own mirror, to your own flame. And so I end this reflection where it began. They secretly fear you because your light exposes their darkness. But this fear is not your curse, it is your gift. It means that you are alive, authentic, aligned with the archetype of wholeness It means that you are part of the eternal drama of light and darkness, of death and rebirth, of shadow and self. Do not fear their fear. Do not resent their resistance. Stand steady in your truth, humble in your light, faithful to the self, for in the end, the darkness trembles not because it is destroyed, but because it knows it is being transformed, and you, bearer of light, are the instrument of that transformation. So walk forward, not with arrogance, but with reverence. Carry your flame into the night, knowing it is both feared and needed. And when you falter, remember that countless others before you have carried their lights through darker nights than these. You are part of a great lineage, a hidden fellowship of souls who dared to be authentic in a world of masks. You are not alone. The self is with you. The archetypes surround you. The ancestors cheer for you, and even those who fear you now, one day might join you. Until then, let your light shine. Let it disturb. Let it heal. Let it reveal. And let it remind the world that beneath every shadow a hidden flame awaits.